Alexander Graham Bell, the man who invented the telephone. A long time ago, in the year 1847, a baby boy was born in a place called Edinburgh, Scotland. His name was Alexander Graham Bell. Alexander's family loved learning, and they always encouraged him to ask questions. From the time he was little, Alexander was very curious. He wanted to know how things worked, and he always wanted to understand the world around him. When Alexander was a child, he was very interested in sounds and voices. He loved hearing people speak and wanted to learn how sounds traveled. His mother was deaf, which means she couldn't hear. But even though his mother couldn't hear, Alexander worked hard to help her understand the world through touch and reading lips. He tried to make the world a better place for his mother by learning about sound. As Alexander grew older, he decided to study science and how sound worked. He wanted to understand how people could talk to each other from far away. He became very interested in inventing things. One of his biggest dreams was to make a machine that could carry voices through the air. Alexander wanted to create something that could help people talk to each other even when they were far apart. He wanted to make a device that could send voices over long distances. This was a very big dream, but Alexander believed that if he worked hard, he could make it happen. When Alexander was a young man, he started teaching people about sound and speech. He taught people who couldn't speak how to say words by using their mouths and voices. He helped many people, but his big dream was always to create a machine that could carry voices through wires. He thought that if he could build such a machine, it would change the world and help people communicate with each other no matter how far apart they were. One day, after working for many years, Alexander had an idea. He thought that if he could turn sound into an electric signal, he might be able to send voices through a wire. He worked on his idea every day, trying to make it perfect. He had many failures, but Alexander didn't give up. He believed in his dream, and he kept trying. Finally, in 1876, Alexander had a big breakthrough. After many tries, he was able to send the first words ever spoken through a wire. He said, "Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you." These were the first words ever spoken on a telephone. It was a moment that would change the world forever. When Alexander made his first telephone call, he was very excited. He had done something no one had ever done before. His invention allowed people to talk to each other even if they were far away. Alexander's telephone worked by turning sound into electricity. The sound waves from a person's voice would be turned into electrical signals, which could travel through a wire. When the signals reached the other end, they would be turned back into sound so the person on the other end could hear the voice. People were amazed by Alexander's invention. It was hard to believe that a machine could carry voices from one place to another, but it worked. Alexander's invention quickly became very popular. People all over the world wanted to use the telephone. Soon, telephones were in homes, businesses, and offices, and people could talk to each other no matter how far apart they were. After Alexander's invention, he continued to work on improving the telephone. He wanted to make it better and easier to use. He worked with other scientists and engineers to make the telephone a part of everyday life. Thanks to Alexander, people could now talk to each other in ways they had never imagined. Alexander was very proud of what he had done, but he didn't stop there. He also made many other inventions. He worked on things like the photophone, which could send sound through light instead of wires. He also worked on ways to help the deaf hear better and communicate more easily. Even though the telephone was his most famous invention, Alexander worked on many other things that helped people in different ways. Through all his hard work, Alexander Graham Bell taught us something important. Never give up on your dreams, no matter how big they are. He had a big dream to help people talk to each other, and even though it was a very difficult challenge, he never gave up. He kept working and learning, and in the end, he changed the world. Today, we use telephones every day to talk to our friends and family. We use them for business, for fun, and to stay connected. Alexander's invention is still with us, even though it has changed a lot over the years. We now have cell phones, which are like tiny computers, but they still let us talk to each other just like the telephone did. Thanks to Alexander Graham Bell, we can all stay in touch with people far away.